Yugi Bros!
What's up, my Yugi Bros? It's Connor. Little disclaimer before we start this video. This week's weekly giveaway items are 3 packs of Scars of Battle. All you have to do to enter said giveaway is both like this video and all other videos with the weekly giveaway item on the sidebar of said video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, of course, and last but not least, answer the daily question provided that is randomly placed in each video promoting said giveaway. But with that out of the way, now back to your regularly scheduled content. What up, Yugi Bros? Got another duel video for you guys today. Today we have Toons versus Vanilla Beat. We're gonna play Toons. We're gonna try to make Toons good. I know that's sounds like an oxymoron. I'm not actually sure if that's a good thing or not. So, unlike your conventional Toon deck, we're actually playing it a little bit differently. Going through the entire Toon roster, I feel like this is the only good card. And a lot of people are going to stop me right there and be like, well, what do you mean, Toon Dark Magician? Yeah, Toon Dark Magician is really good. You need to commit to summon him. And yes, Toon Mask exists, but that implies that your opponent has a level 7 or higher monster on the field for you to then target with Toon Mask. And a lot of decks right now aren't really playing big beat sticks, or at least big levels. You have the exception against machines with Barrel Dragon, so you could target that, but that does require some setup that you're not always going to have initially with Toons. As it is, Toons does play very slow compared to most decks because they can't attack the turn they're summoned, and if you want to attack directly, you have to have Toon World up as well. The upside to newer Toons like Gemini Elf is this one says you can summon it without Toon World already on the field, and Masked Sorcerer does the same thing, and I'm sure a few others that we have, Barrel Dragon and Buster Blader, and I think Dark Magician, all don't have that clause either, like the old ones, like Summon Skull and Mermaid do. However, again, I just think that if you're going to summon something that can't attack, that you have to wait for, it has to at least have a good either attack or defense, and you can't normal summon in face-up defense. So Gemini Elf is the only thing that I consider in Speed Duels currently good. If you look here, like, the only options we have, like, we're not going to obviously, we're not playing Toon Alligator because he does nothing. These are all too big. Toon Defense is a cute card, but again, requires some setup, and, like, they don't attack your Toons, but they attack directly instead. That's not something I want. We're already paying 1,000 life points to activate this terrible card already. Like, the last thing I want to do is take more life points to protect my Toon monster. I'm not going to live long enough. Toon Masked Sorcerer, like I said, it's got a cool effect, but he's not big at all, and I can't be trying to rely on other cards to protect this. I just think that it's just not that great. Mermaid, you have to have Toon World to summon it, and even still, it's not good enough. Summon Skull, same thing. You have to have Toon World on the field. Sure, it's a special summon versus a normal summon, but it just doesn't, I don't know. Maybe this could be a one-of if I can solidify Toon World to stay on the field, but having to hold this in my hand dead until I have that card, and then if they get rid of it, I understand the new skill protects it once, but I've seen people pop it twice in one turn. Rollback gives Toons a second attack, but it doesn't fix their fact that they still can't attack the first turn that's summoned. So again, something dead, don't really care for it. The only good Toon cards I consider in Speed Duels right now, if you can get this out, Dark Magician counts, but if not, would be Toon Table of Contents, sadly Toon World because we don't have anything else that acts like it, and Toon Gemini Elf. So back to the replay, we figured instead of making the deck just strictly Toon based, we're going to try to keep that concept going, but we're going to play a different engine to give it, like, defense and a little bit more, like, playability. So we're playing Apprentice Magicians, which is why we have this Old Vindictive in hand starting up. And we're playing stuff like Sphere Karibo to protect our Gemini Elf. But at least with the 1900, even if we don't open something like this to protect it from at least an attack, it can hold its own in battle, which is nice. Also, we're playing Double Cyclone because this skill says the first time Toon World in your spell and trap zone will be destroyed each turn, it is not destroyed, meaning that you can have a Cyclone target the Toon World and an opponent's back row and get rid of it right off the bat, allowing you to kind of do some cool plays with Cyclone, and basically means you're just playing MST. We don't have MST, and Speed Duel is the best thing we'd have if we wanted to execute destruction of a spell or trap card on our turn is Night Beam or Dice Foon. Twister to a lesser extent. Dice Foon's risky. Twister, it has to be face up. And Night Beam, it has to be set. But this gives us all around options and is also a quick play, so we can use it on our opponent's turn as well. I feel like with this, it works out really well. I wish Toon Mayhem did something else. I think it counting as Toon World would maybe be a little too strong, but maybe it wouldn't be, because you still have to stall one turn while these things are summoned. So if it doesn't count as Toon World, I wish it let you attack with them the same turn they're summoned. Unfortunately, that option doesn't exist, so we have to work with what we have. Our opponent is playing Bandit with the normal monster deck. What's cool about this normal monster deck that we were messing with is it's standard normal monsters. However, it's not the EFR version. It's not the Enchanted Fitting Room version. But it lets you play more main deck cards like Heatwave. Not that you couldn't in the other build, but this, you can fit a lot of extra plays in here, and you don't always have to rely on Enchanted Fitting Room. So we elected to go first. I think they let us. Either they let us go first, or we elected to go first. Either way, this deck wants to go second. Most Speed Duel decks I've learned, at least in the past, want to go second. I feel like Toons is a deck where, though, however, you have to set up, because this is going to summon and it can't attack this turn. So you kind of have to just sit on it, which is unfortunate, especially now with something like this in the game, because they can just blow through it. And then that's that. So we're going to normal Toon Gemini Elf, set Double Cyclone, and pass. They're going to draw into Skill Successor. This is a card I've been raving about a lot lately, where it gives a monster 400 attack, and then during your turn, except the turn it was sent to the grave, you can banish it from your grave to give a monster 800 attack. It's really good in something like this, where you've already got beat sticks, and then they become even beefier, so they could potentially get rid of bigger threats. And I like its double use. They're going to start out with Heatwave, so we're locked. We can't normal or special summon effect monsters during our next turn. Fortunately for us, I'm sure they aren't aware that we are playing a flip package or a set between a Princess Magician and this package. So they're going to normal summon Gilgorth, which is a new normal monster from Speed, 1800 attack. We're going up in the world in attack points. They're going to Offerings to Doom, like I said, the Toon Gemini Elf, and immediately we already don't have our setup. So they're going to do 18 directly, and that's, like I said, that's more crucial because we have to pay 1,000 life points for Toon World. Yes, we can play this deck without Toon World because this thing still gets its effect if it inflicts damage at discard an opponent's card, but it just wouldn't be able to attack directly, and we'd lose the main gimmick of the deck. So 18 is kind of rough. We draw Supply Squad. Now we're playing this for the same reason. This is vulnerable out on the field. You might as well have something that nets you something. I wish we had it last turn. That would have been a little better. At least it would have one-for-one itself. But we are playing it between these dying really quickly and this engine defending. This card's actually really good, and it lets us draw into extra Toon stuff, so we don't have to always try really hard to hard draw the cards that we need. And it lets us play less copies of stuff too, which is nice. They don't draw because of Offerings. They're going to summon Greffer, and they're going to swing with Gilgarth. We're going to flip Old Vindictive Magician and pop the Greffer. And we get a draw because of Supply Squad. We're going to draw into Apprentice Magician. Now, we play the Jar of Avarice because this is the only Toon monster we're playing, and if they knock out all three, then we lose the entirety of the deck, and we kind of have to swing with these low-level monsters, or these low-attack monsters. So something to swap these in. Plus, we play 3 Toon Table of Contents, which can be 3 cards in the grave in one shot, which is nice. So I think Jar actually plays a really good part in this deck. It's a little early here, but we have the Apprentice Magician, so we're not worried. We're going to set it as a bluff as of right now. Worst case scenario, they pop it, but we're not too concerned with that, because then they don't pop something more realistic like Double Cyclone. And early game, it's not something we detrimentally need to activate. They're going to draw Order to Charge, which is really strong. Again, they contribute a normal monster to destroy a monster on the field, and that doesn't target, which is actually pretty good. And I have Gilgard swing into Apprentice Magician. We're going to draw off of Squad, and Apprentice is going to set another Apprentice from the deck. We draw into Toon Mask, which, like I said, I explained this before. You target a monster your opponent controls, and then special summon a Toon monster from your hand or deck whose level is less than or equal to the level/rank of that monster, ignoring its summoning conditions. It's really good if your opponent has a level 7 or higher for your Toon Dark Magician or your Toon Barrel or your Toon Buster. But in this situation, and in most situations, at least game 1, you're not going to see that. Game 2, you could side it in if you felt the necessary need to. We draw a Toon Table of Contents, but we've locked ourselves out right now, and we could burn this, but I don't feel it's necessary to do so, so we might as well just wait instead. They're going to draw into Gilgarth, they're going to normal summon it, they're going to go into battle phase, and they're going to swing. So we'll draw a card. Apprentice will set a Vindictive. If you've noticed, we're playing 2 for that purpose, but also to get rid of stuff like if this thing can't attack the same turn it's summoned and they summon something else, at least we can clear a path for it, especially if we don't have Toon World up, so it can do its effect when it inflicts damage. So we're going to set Vindictive. The Gilgarth will hit it, but we'll pop the Gilgarth, so we kind of traded there. We did draw Toon Gemini Elf off of the draw, so that of Supply Squad, so that's really nice. End phase now, we're going to double Cyclone. We're going to roll a dice to figure out which one to target. We're kind of yellowing this, and we're going to target my back row, my face down back row. And then we're going to chain Jar of Avarice, hitting these 5 back into the deck. So double Cyclone ends up essentially being an MST. I also really like double Cyclone in the sense of, let's say you activate a normal spell card, right, and your opponent doesn't have a response, and then you chain this, targeting that normal spell card that you have on the field, and, well, I guess it works with a trap too, like in this situation, but if, let's say you want to knock it out in the same turn and you don't have a back row, you play the normal trap, then you chain this, targeting the normal trap in one of their cards and destroy it, and then it's still a glorified MST, which is kind of cool. We draw Toon World, which is really convenient. This is all in their end phase, by the way. So we draw for turn, and it's another double Cyclone. We're going to flip Toon Mayhem, so that now this is protected once per turn. And we're going to pay 1,000 life points because we have to, and then we're going to do what I said earlier. We're going to have double Cyclone target Toon World and their face down, which ends up being skill success here. They chain it and give their monster 400 attacks, so we're not going to get over that this turn, but we can't attack anyway, so we're not getting over it regardless. We're going to have Toon Table, mill Toon, 2 Toon Tables, essentially, as in activating 2 Toon Tables. It's just quicker this way. Getting us a Gemini Elf for a backup play. We're going to normal summon this Gemini Elf, we're going to set Toon Mask, and we're going to pass. Now, do keep in mind, these newer Toons still have the effect, or the downside, I should say, where if Toon World is destroyed, these are destroyed as well. But we are playing Supply Squad, so that worst case scenario that happens, we still get something out of it. So they draw into Heat Wave. They're going to activate Heat Wave. We're going to chain Toon Mask, so we can't normally special summon when this resolves, however it hasn't resolved yet, so we're going to use Toon Mask to bring out another Toon Gemini Elf. And the beauty here is that Gilgarth can't kill Gemini Elf. However, they do have the skill successor engraved. They will banish it, giving Gilgarth an extra 800 attack points, allowing them to go into battle phase, to which we will Sphere Karibo. Now, we draw Apprentice Magician. We do normal summon Toon Gemini Elf here. However, they did Heatwave last turn. That is a misplay on my part. I am super sorry about that. However, this can't attack this turn anyway. And as you'll see in a second, it didn't actually impact the game at all. Usually, if it impacts the game, I try not to upload it anymore. Mistakes do happen. I'm super sorry about that. But this can't attack anyway, so it almost didn't matter here. These two, however, are going to attack directly now because Toon World is up. And my opponent doesn't control a Toon monster. And just like that, the game shifts to our favor. They draw Dust Tornado, which would normally be very good here, but we have our skill that protects Toon World. So, we're going to go into battle phase. We realized at this point that this isn't supposed to be on the field, so we put this in defense mode just to kind of play off of that. We're going to swing, and they're going to take the damage. Now, I think they show us that they had Dust Tornado. Oh, no, they don't even. But again, like, the Dust Tornado was pointless because we had the skill that protects Toon World once per turn. So, game 2, they open Skill Successor, Dust Tornado, Gilgarth, and Digrapher. We open Jar of Avarice, unfortunately. I'd really like to not open this. Double Cyclone, Sphere Karibo, and Supply Squad. Unfortunately, no Toons, or no way to hit Toons. But, hey, we have a few stall cards. Worst case scenario, too, we can also set this with Supply Squad. It essentially still walls an attack, and we draw out of it. So it's not the worst idea. They're actually going to go first this time. They're going to summon Gilgarth, and they're going to set 2 and pass. We're going to draw into Toon World, which does nothing for us right now. We're going to activate Toon Mayhem, however, activate the Toon World, pay 1,000 life points, and activate our double Cyclone. We're going to YOLO which one we hit, so we figure we'll hit the middle. However, they chain Dust Tornado to target the Toon World. And because this will destroy it, and then this will destroy it, that counts as its second time, so it actually does get rid of it off the field, but we don't really care too much. We didn't need the Toon World right now. It's not the end of the world. And like I said, we're going to set Sphere Karibo so that our supply squad at least nets us an extra draw. We're going to set Jar as a bluff because it's really dead right now. And we're going to pass. I'm going to draw a Greffer. I'm going to normal summon the Greffer, and they're going to go to battle phase and have Greffer attack our monster, which ends up being Sphere, of course. We're going to draw off of our squad, and they're going to do 1,800 with Gilgarth. That's really rough because now we're only at 1,200, so if we do have to activate another Toon World later on, that'll put us at 200, which is real risky in this deck. We're going to draw an Apprentice, thank God. We're going to set that and set Toon Mask and pass. I'm going to draw Dust Tornado. I'm going to normal summon that third Greffer, set the Tornado, and go into battle phase. The onslaught begins. They're going to hit our Apprentice, which unfortunately lets us draw off squad. We're going to draw Old Vindictive, which is unfortunate because I believe we sided one out here. So we're forced to put another Apprentice down, whereas we'd normally put the Vindictive down. Greffer will swing in, so we'll activate Toon Mask, targeting Gilgarth, summoning the Gemini, and then activate Jar of Avarice, because now we have 5 targets in grave. Shovel up and draw. And then they still declared the attack. They would normally get a replay, but obviously they're not going to attack the elf. So Apprentice will then summon a third Apprentice. They're going to have Garth attack into that Apprentice, and then they're going to pass. I'm going to draw into Sphere Karibo. Set our Old Vindictive and a Toon Mask. And now our elf can attack, so we're going to swing. However, they're going to flip the skill successor, giving their monster 400 attack and killing our girl by 200. What's worse now is that puts us at 1,000, which means if we activate Toon World, we lose. So we're not going to do that. But that does prevent us from doing Toon World in the future. Konami, please give us Draining Shield. This deck desperately needs it. We do get Squad's effect, though, so we do draw another elf. They draw into Offerings to the Doomed, which probably is the best thing they could have drawn here. They're going to Dust Tornado our face down. We're going to chain it Toon Mask to summon the elf. However, like I said, it doesn't matter in this situation because they have Offerings to the Doomed. They're going to have Greffer swing into Vindictive. We're going to have Vindictive pop Gilgarth. We draw with Squad, and they're going to Offerings the elf. So we're going to be forced to Sphere Karibo the other monster. I'm going to draw into Sphere once again. I'm going to activate Toon Table of Contents. Mill Toon Table of Contents. Get Toon Mask. However, that and Toon World are the only targets we have left. The other 2 elves are here. So we're actually getting a bluff. But we're not. Our opponent may not know we don't have any other Toons in the deck. So we figure we're going to get that. Also thins the deck. Yes, it does put us at a low count of 5 cards. But at this point, we need something big to come back. So we're going to normal elf, we're going to set Toon Mask and pass. They can't draw because of Offerings, they'll set their monster to defense and pass. We draw into Toon World, which like I said is dead because that would kill us. So we're going to have elf swing into Greffer here. They're going to draw into Skill Successor. They're going to set it. They're going to banish the one from the graveyard, pumping this guy up to 25 and swing into the elf. We're going to sphere that. But we are on buying time. We're on borrowed time at this point. We'll draw double Cyclone, which kind of works out because this is dead and this is dead. But if we activated Toon World, we'd be locked out. So let's have this target our face down and their face down, which ends up being their Skill Successor. Skill Successor doesn't pump defense, so there's no point in them activating it. I'm going to set another bluff Toon World. Have Elf kill the Greffer and pass, and pray they don't draw a normal. But they do, and they'll set it. We draw Sphere Karibo. We go straight into battle phase, killing their normal monster, passing. They draw Spell Shattering Arrow. Set it and pass. We draw Double Cyclone, so we might as well use it. They chain this. So what's interesting here is this will resolve first, destroying both of these face-up spell cards and inflicting 1,000 damage to us for game. But even if it wasn't game, it's tough to say who would have won. We only had one card. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not tough to say. We only had one card left in our deck, so we had to do 4,000 between this turn and the next. And while Sphere Karibo does exist, and we could normal summon it and do 22 this turn, and if they didn't draw normal next turn, maybe we could have swung for 22 for game. It would have definitely been risky to figure out. But we lost, so I guess. Alright, going into game 3 now. Alright, we open Sphere Karibo, Toon Gemini Elf, Toon Table of Contents, and Jar of Avarice. They open Skill Successor, Spell Shattering Arrow, Floodgate Trap Hole, and Dust Tornado. Skills go down, and we start the game. We're going first again. We'll Toon Table, one Toon Table, and get Toon Mask. The reason we did that is we actually sided out one Toon Table. What's nice about that is it's just Upstart Goblins. Yes, they're also Rotas for this deck, but we have enough ways to hit our Toon monsters anyway that we felt we could side one out and it not be the end of the world. So we're going to summon Elf, set Mask, set Jar, and pass. Go figure we drew this again. I don't know what it is, Dueling Book, but you need to stop letting me open this card. They draw Cabazels. The Floodgate also is actually really good in this matchup. We haven't seen it thus far, but setting this permanently, also it being 900 defense, that's a really good tech. So they're going to set Tornado, Skill Successor, and Floodgate Trap Hole. And they're actually just going to pass. They can't kill this. So end phase will Toon Mask, bringing out another Elf. What's nice about Toon Mask is that it kind of lets you dodge the it can't attack the turn it's summoned, because it's summoned on their end phase. So that's still their turn. So it can't attack that turn, but that's fine. When you go to your turn, now it can attack. So both of them are alive to attack now. We're going to set Vindictive. We're going to go into battle phase, and you think we'd probably learned by now that they have this, but we didn't. So we lose our monster once again to it. So they could do that in damage step on our turn, or I'm sorry, on their turn. But still, it kind of gives us preemptive ways. If we see their weaker monster attack our stronger monster, we know they have the Skill Successor, which sometimes would let us, use like a sphere, put it in defense mode, then kill it the following turn and kill directly. So that was a little risky on our part, but it did get rid of it, so the other one's still there. They're going to end phase Dust Tornado the Jar, which is unfortunate because we actually had 4 targets, but that's fine. Make sure it doesn't actually get rid of a real card. They're going to normal summon Gilgarth, set the Spell Shattering Arrow, banish the Skill Successor to put Gilgarth to 26. I'm going to have Gilgarth swing into Gemini, and thank God we play Sphere Karibo. They're going to have Cabazels attack Old Vindictive. Old Vindictive will destroy the Gilgarth. But now we only have the Elf. We draw into Apprentice, which is nice. It's a little extra defense. We're going to swing, even though we've seen Skill Successor up to this point. We're going to YOLO it. And it actually works out. Thank God. But they draw into Offerings to the Doomed. Guys, I tell you, this is the best tempo shifter card in the game. Like, you have such a good advantage right now with this card. They're forced to set even if they didn't want to, because this would discard it. But it's Offerings to the Doomed, so we're automatically already screwed. We could switch Apprentice to attack mode, but like I said, we need to conserve as much life points as possible, so we'll keep it in defense. We'll swing for 1900. They're actually going to take it, and I understand now why they did that. They don't have a recovery, and they wouldn't be able to draw if they used this. And yeah, maybe we wouldn't have something else after the fact, but they figured let's see what we can draw first and then use Gemini. However, they do draw Order to Charge, which is dead because they don't have a normal monster. So, they'll pass. We draw into another Apprentice. We figure let's just bolster our defenses. Let's swing directly. It would be game. We would also discard this if it wasn't game, but they'll flip Offerings to the Doomed and get rid of it. So they go. They can't draw. They pass. They don't want to lock themselves out setting this, which makes sense. We draw Supply Squad, which is probably the best thing we could draw, having both of these on the field. So we're going to activate that and pass. Again, I just don't want to flip these and run into a normal monster the following turn. Yes, we have a Sphere Karibo, but I don't know. I just don't want to take the risk of what they could do. They draw a Skill Successor, but they're not going to set it again. They don't want to lock themselves, so they pass. Granted, they technically don't lock themselves if they use this to pop this, but whatever. We draw in a Double Cyclone. We figure we'll set that and pass. Now I kind of wish we flipped one of these just in case. We would have gotten 800 in at this point. Actually, we could have gotten in more if we flipped both. Assuming we knew they couldn't summon another normal monster, so technically we could have gotten in 16 between the last two turns. However, that still wouldn't have mattered, because now here comes the Gilgarth. And they're going to Spell Shattering Arrow, the Supply Squad. We're going to Chain Double Cyclone, destroying the Supply Squad and their face down. And then Spell Shattering will resolve, still inflicting 500, destroying Double Cyclone. So, like I said, we could have got them to 300 life points if we were YOLOing. Do keep in mind, though, if they had just not taken the 1900 when they had the Offerings a turn previous, it wouldn't have actually mattered. And they're going to go into the battle phase and swing into one of the Apprentices. It's unfortunate that the Squad is dead, because Squad was going to be our way to launch ourselves into this game. Now, we sided back in that Vindictive. I think we took out the table for it, so that makes sense. Setting it. And we draw in a Gemini Elf. So we're going to flip Vindictive, destroying the Gilgarth. They're going to chain Order to Charge, destroying our other face-down monster. But now we have the Gemini Elf. Unfortunately, I can't attack this turn, otherwise this game would be over. I really wish this skill let us attack the same turn. We're going to have Vindictive swing in for 450, which, I guess, if we had put them down to 300 2 turns ago, that would have been game. Just food for the thought. For the future of Toons. They're going to summon Greffer. They're going to swing into Vindictive, and we don't really care at this point. We'd rather save Sphere for a relevant card. We're going to activate Supply Squad. We're going to swing. And oh my god, why do we keep falling for this? It's just not, it's not fair. It's not fair. If we were less conservative, Toons would have beaten this. If we were less conservative. They're going to Skill Successor it. Putting it to 25, trying to go for game, but we have the Sphere here for that. We draw into Toon Mask, so we're not screwed yet. No, we are screwed. These are all gone. So I guess we'll set bluffs and pass. They're going to draw into another Greffer. They're going to switch to attack mode, summon a second Greffer, swing for 1700, putting us at 150, and then swing for game. We're going to pretend we have a monster, but we actually don't have a monster since we say no targets. But they reveal that they had this at this point, so it would have been too late. So we lost. But in my heart, we actually won. If I mess with this a little bit more, I think we could actually get it to work a little bit more consistently. And if I stop being so damn conservative, which I always am, maybe we could have actually won the game. Either way, however. So, for the Toon build, we played Triple Toon Gemini Elf. It's the only Toon I felt was necessary. 2 Apprentice Magician. I think 3 is a bit much. However, with this card, you can do it, and it's not the end of the world. But we play Jar of Avarice, so we can loop this card a bit. But we don't want the deck to just hinder on this completely. We play 2 Vindictive, however, because A, you can draw one, and then the other one can't set the other one. But also, just extra ways to remove cards to let this have a clear path if you don't have the Toon World. Yes, We only play one Toon World. Hold on 1 second. 2 Sphere Karibo instead of 3. We sided the third one. We're not actually sure what we want for ratios of this, but we know the deck needed to be 20 cards. We tried 21, and it just wasn't happening. Sphere Karibo is really good to defend. We need it when all else fails, and it's really good when your opponent doesn't expect it, or at least wipes your back row thinking they're fine. This thing needs to be protected at all costs. 1 Toon World. I think this card is absolutely garbage. And rightfully so. It literally does nothing. It just says pay 1,000 life points. The only thing that makes it relevant is your other cards that say they can do things while this is on the field. I don't know if Toon Kingdom would be overpowered in this game, but we need an alternative to this card because it literally is garbage. We played 2 for a while, and again, after you activate it once, you never want to activate it a second time. Paying the extra 1,000 in this deck where you're already taking life points, you never want to activate it a second time. The upside of attacking directly is almost just completely irrelevant at that point. But you could play 2 if you want to mess with this. This is definitely not a perfect deck yet, so, there's always room to improve. 3 Toon Table of Contents. This is technically Toon World anyway, or this, so you always have ways to hit it. 2 Supply Squad. You're drawing through a lot in your deck, so you have ways, again, to get your Toon stuff. 2 Double Cyclone in the main deck with 1 in the side, because with the skill, it's really good. Toon Mask. We don't play more than 3 Toons, so we don't want this to be dead. However, 1, you never see it. You kind of want to open it. I feel like 2 is a really good number in speed duels, because if you don't want to max on something, but you want to see a card opening hand, you play 2 of stuff. However, dueling books, algorithm, I don't know if I'm just extremely unlucky, but no matter how few of Jar of Avarices you play, you'll always see apparently this card in your opening hand. But I definitely would still play it in here because it recycles these when they die, it recycles this if you need more destruction, it recycles Sphere Karibo for more defenses, and it recycles Toon World if you feel like you really need to activate it a second time, which most of the time I feel like you don't. Now, we play 2 Santa Claus. We actually were playing one of the Toons. I think it was Barrel Dragon? Yeah, Barrel Dragon. We could play Dark Magician. Special summoning a Toon from the deck is cute, but if you're playing this, you have to play another one of these. It's just more dead cards, and I know you guys know I hate dead cards. So we're actually playing the Barrel Dragon because it does something. So we can actually cut a Santa Claus here. This is for the matchups where your opponent has level 7 or higher, so that Mask can summon it from the deck, which is nice. Like I said, third Sphere for more damage, for more defense, the third Cyclone for more spell and trap destruction, Waking the Dragon, of course. But we play 1 Nightmare Wheel. We play 1 burn card. I don't know if this is the best burn card to play, but it does stall, and we need ways to stop attacks against this thing. And extra 500 can go the distance when you're allowed to attack directly in this deck. Alternatively, this is the normal monster deck we were playing. Triple Gilgarth, triple Greffer, double Cabazels. 1 Order to Charge in the main deck. We're playing Offerings to the Doom, so we don't feel like we need this card. 1 Dark Factory and Mass Production. We never drew this, and it's an easy side out, but in case you feel like you need extra monsters or they're popping your guys off real quick, you can get them back with that. Double Heat Wave. 3 is situational, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. 2 Offerings to the Doomed. Double Skill Successor, you don't need more than 2 of this, because it ends up being a double already. So 2 double extra effects, which is nice. Double Floodgate, I think it's just standard. Double Dust Tornado, standard. Side deck, we're playing the 1 Faustine Bargain. Send a special summon monster on either side of the field with Graveyard. Special summon a level 4 lower normal from your hand. It's really cute against Relinquished. It's good against other stuff too, but especially Relinquished. Just get rid of Relinquished, summon your boy for free. Double Night Beam, in case you want to go off a little bit faster with this deck. Like I said, the second Order to Charge, I definitely either make this a third one of these, or it would be that, and this would replace to one of those. Spell Shredding Arrow, because I still think this card's really good right now. Alternatively, if you're not playing this, I think Twister's also really good right now. And last but not least, Waking Dragon as well. So, Guys, what'd you think? I'm sorry for the super long video, but it's Toons. I feel like we need to spend as much time as possible to make this deck kind of okay. Tell me what you liked, loved, and hated down in the comments below. Like, subscribe as always, hit that notification bell to get all of our latest updates, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Yu-Gi Bros out.